Alright, so spoiler alert, the video you're about to watch is this. Respond to yourself. I think it's a thing that we should say to friends. If a friend says something that we think is silly or incorrect or incomplete, and it's important to complete it, let's suppose, and they are able to do that by themselves, they're able to answer their own question. If it's a question, respond to yourself. Someone says, and this is particularly useful, by the way, and I got to stop soon and just cut to the explanation. I already recorded, but and it's particularly useful if if it's more beneficial for them to, they said this thing, and then for them to wire it themselves, the response, rather than just hearing it from you. So anyway, and then with Yodrado, this is how you say that. I guess I don't know whether this is necessary, but anyway, so we have say, which is na. We have back, or this is an accent that means like back. It's like re, but back, not again. So it's like re, back, okay? And that's vela, vertical line above. So that's vela. And then we have here the command accent. So that's a seagull below, but no, double arches below. And so dab, okay? And then you, tsadi. So na vela dab tsadi. 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 We don't have to do that part, but just to, anyway. All right. So now I'm going to nave. So anyway, navela dab tsadi. Of course, you can also say navela cav if you don't want to move your head around to indicate. Oh, actually, no, vertical line above vela and double arches below dab. Oh, okay, so those don't have the same named thing, but on the opposite end. So you can just you don't have to do the head thing at all, actually. So navela dab tsadi. Navela dab tsadi. Respond to yourself. Oh my god, so unflattering. Anyway, I just needed some socializing to get me out of the little rut. And so this place is great. There are a number of campers here. Made friends with 3 of them. Well, there's only one of them left. I haven't made friends with one of them. And but anyway, actually, I was already thinking to do a video, but the threshold wasn't met. And then the idea about the fact that I'm socializing and just to keep you up to date, so that hyped that wanted to do a video. And the original Suzette for wanting to do a video was this lovely French couple came by. There's a French vehicle up there, and so he said hello in French, and so I said, "Oh, hi, so are you the vehicle up there?" We started chatting, and they said, "Whoa, look at all those." And I'll post it, or you can see, but that's what they were looking at. Oh, by the way, check out my new installation. How awesome is this? I'm so excited about this. Look at this. Oh. Look at that. Because this thing, I kept breaking the curtain. I kept breaking the little, so I've lost like all the plastic things. But I have this to do some of the work of blocking light if I want. And also, guess what? It's a whiteboard. Oh. There we go. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, so they came over and we chatted for a while. And they wanted to know sort of what my story was. And I'm committed now to using the term soul. Let's not distinguish between the mind and soul. It's a fool's errand to be going telling people, oh no, the soul isn't real. That's just not a battle worth fighting. So the soul is very much real. Your experiences are real, not necessarily indicative of the truth you think you're experiencing, but they don't guarantee that, but they are real in and of themselves. It is real activity in your soul. It's still going to be a hurdle to be like, your soul is a physical thing. But whatever. It's less of a hurdle than saying, no, forget the soul. You are this physical thing. People can't do that. Anyway, so I was talking to, so I said to her that because when I meet someone, I basically have to tell them immediately, I'm not getting paid for my work. My mother bought this and she is paying for my life. But how I explain it is, I say, I didn't have any other choice except to work on it. So I lived in the woods for 2.5 years. And my mom was like, yo, I need to get you some comfort. And so I was like, which took her about a year to convince me of it. I was like, all right, fine. That sounds good. And I love it. And I appreciate this so much. It's just so amazing. So anyway, my mom's my boss. I work for my mom. So anyway, okay, all those justifications aside, I had said that it was that the things I have to work on are in philosophy and psychology. And so she asked, so you said something about philosophy? And I said, yeah, it's really the intersection of psychology and philosophy. Neuroscience has shown us over the last few decades a lot about what the soul is, how it works. And then I asked whether they knew anything about cognitive biases. They said no. They said, well, basically it's these errors that we always make because there's a lot of things that are sort of pre-programmed in our soul, certain shortcuts and means of interpretation that aren't as reliable as they feel. So my job is to try to understand that and to try to communicate that, the things that we've learned about the soul, about what the human is. And the husband said, well, that's right up your alley. And I hadn't processed beforehand, but then I processed that, oh, she's been sort of almost holding back as I've been talking. It's been resonating with her. So I was like, there's no way she's is she a neuropsychologist or something? And, but no, she's very interested in the soul. So, anyway, I recorded this video because I might have made a boo-boo, but we'll see how we do it, we'll see where we lose her. If the soul is very important to her, she's already got a whole bunch of ideas about it, about how she can feel truth and all this stuff. So we'll see how we do it. We have to record. I often say that. What was it? Oh yeah, I often say that our programming developed to aid in our survival and reproduction, and so that was sort of the goal. Not to be philosophers, not to really think about the kinds of things that we are meant to be thinking about, democracy and cities and stuff like that. The moral questions and economic issues and all that stuff is not stuff that we really evolved to think about it on that kind of scale anyway. That said, recently when I said that to someone, they would use that to sort of legitimize the intuition. Say, yeah, but it was for our survival, so, and the implication being, so we should trust it. Of course, humans are so dumb that if you just finish that sentence, it doesn't make any sense. Oh yeah, it evolved for that survival, in that environment, so we should trust it for our rational objectives of today. No, what? But another thing that undermines that whole stance, and actually it's something you hear often, people talk about how you should trust your intuition because of millions of years of blah, 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 blah. So not only did it not evolve for thinking about the things that we try to think about now, or the things that our society depends on, but also it didn't help us that much with survival. I mean, it helped us, but even our current survival demands can't be fulfilled by our intuition, by our programming. We smoke cigarettes, we eat too much, we eat too much of the wrong stuff, we get ourselves into these stupid wars, and then if we're not doing some nation war, then I mean, either way, it's just, anyway, it's tribal stuff. So whether it's gangs or, going to war in Afghanistan, or becoming I don't know, a cop, and where it's just not sort of well trained, we just, oh gosh. So it's not like we're out here all just dying of natural causes. And even if we were, it's like, oh wait, dying of natural causes, so our programming isn't good enough. But I guess now you're talking about the peripheral programming, the organs and all that stuff. But if the brain was as reliable as we pretend, even for survival, we'd all be living to 100. Is that not true? I mean, pretty much, right? Yeah. Of course, those of you who don't smoke, who eat healthy, who exercise, and who don't get yourselves into silly, violent situations. Okay. Then okay, your intuition, your programming is pretty darn good. Maybe you're gonna say it's not your intuition, it's these decisions that you make, whatever. Okay, but in any case, your programming, whether it's the programming you experience or the programming that you don't, is good for survival in this world. So that's excellent. Still, then, okay, so okay, I haven't undermined the value of intuition of your programming for your survival. That's only for people who smoke, who don't exercise, who eat too much sugar, who eat too much, who eat too little, trying to fit some beauty standard, who eat the wrong stuff, who drink, and who engage in any kind of unnecessary conflict. Okay, all those people, I don't want to hear from them that their intuition is good for survival, or their programming in general, whatever. Their system, their activity. But I don't want to hear from anybody, of course, as I always say, that because some of their programming is good for stuff like that, they eat when they're supposed to, blah, 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 that they also know how to evaluate political candidates, that they also know how to do good threat assessment when they live their life mostly surrounded by people that, they haven't known for more than a month, and many, many people that's their one and only interaction. Okay. Just realized what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a journal entry after this video or this audio or whatever it is for you. Let me say something and think about it after. What I say next, I just realized I think it explains why we don't make arguments. We don't need to. All we have to do is, because I'm trying to make if-then statements for claims that are made as I scroll through Instagram. But often it's always an implied then. What it is the person state some fact, and then the conclusion that that fact begot in their mind, it begets it in our mind as well. So that's why, to convince someone, you don't show them premise, conclusion. You just go, yo, premise, and or whatever. Afterwards, I'll try to work an example now. All right, now check out what I said about persuasion. So I'm working on a bunch of videos, and I'm really getting into it theory and all of that, but I still have ideas every once in a while. So here's something I want to share, and it might not be particularly organized, the publication or the content of this video, but anyway, so there were I actually made a video that I still have to publish, so check out the video on persuasion by premises. And I was just thinking, sometimes we think that humans argue by making claims, and then by supporting those claims with evidence. That second part is definitely not true, but they actually, I think if you listen to an argument, the next argument that you hear, or even just any disagreement, because arguments may be kind of rare, people tend to just walk away from it, or tend to just move on or whatever. But just in a few lines of disagreement, I think you'll notice that more often than hearing someone make a claim, and again, I don't think you'll ever hear someone substantiate a claim with a subclaim. What I do think that you'll hear a lot of are people asking questions, but not real questions, right? Rhetorical questions. So making claims through questions, through suggestion. And then the other thing that they'll do is make claims through the subclaim, which is an interesting cheat, because so basically they won't just make a claim. They will give some fact that I guess supports the unstated claim. But rather than actually making the claim, they'll just give you that fact, knowing that it's probably going to do the same work in your stupid brain that it did in theirs. It's going to suggest the same conclusion to you. So that's something to look out for. And it's also something that I think I think that if you're on the spectrum, it's something to be aware of, because if you don't explicitly notice that, and you think you're participating in disagreements the way everybody else is, maybe you talk more or something, maybe you don't talk as softly, but specifically one of the ways in which you're not talking as softly, not just like, oh, but I'm not really sure, maybe not, blah, blah. By the way, of course, that's good to express, to make sure that everybody knows that you're not 100% about your thing. But maybe you don't do it the way the neurotypicals do it, and they're usually lying when they do it. When they go, oh gosh, I'm not sure. But, that's my opinion. That's really what it is. Anyway, but one of the things is that, what they're doing is arguing through questions and through premises. So it's all very suggestive. And you don't think that blah, 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 blah. And, or they'll say, and I was just surprised she did that. So they shared this fact, and they've softened it up by saying, I was just surprised, instead of just saying she did that. But in any case, part of what they're doing is they're saying, hey, she did that. How does that make you feel? And then there's no sort of actual thinking, or, should that fact make us believe in this implied claim? Maybe not, but because we're dumb, we tend to just have the same kind of reactions to certain facts. So we argue, we try to persuade, or we just argue. We don't have to add any malicious intent. We express our disagreement, at least in the times and cultures that I'm familiar with, often through suggestive facts and suggestive questions, rather than declarative sort of claims, and then the facts that support them. My phone is dead. My car battery is dead. My battery is dead. My computer is almost dead. So, but we had to, so this is a pretty major update, and it's just an important note. So I was thinking about neuronal communication and it communication, and it's so easy as a human mind to imagine entities interacting. We imagine information being passed along. And that never sat right with me to say that a neuron passes information along to another neuron. In some senses, sure. But there's an important way in which it's wrong, in that it's actually quite binary. It's just like either it tickles the cell or it doesn't. There's not information. The information is more of an emergent term thing. And so I don't want it to be passing information along, but it's hard to imagine a system communicating without each piece giving information. It's like, it's not as hard, but it feels like trying to imagine the fourth dimension right now. It just feels like something that it's difficult for the brain to understand. Or something, but actually all it does is it just slaps it on the shoulder. And then if it slaps the guy hard enough, the next it hard enough, then that it slaps the next one on the shoulder. So the information is so distributed that I feel like it isn't even meaningful to refer to one, to one instance of neurotransmitters crossing the synapse and landing in some receptors as a transmission of information. Information shouldn't be used on that scale, that term. It's just meaningless, I think. You could make an argument for it, but that's not what we're doing right now. I think it is valuable to say that it's just kind of meaningless. You're not handing off a message, just a slap on the shoulder, and maybe another guy slapped him on the shoulder, and maybe that was enough for him to slap the next guy. So I was thinking earlier today and yesterday that when I imagine inter-it communication, when I imagine liveries in the sit stem, so there's the whole sit stem, I guess. Photons hitting you right now. So photons hitting, that's an in livery. It's received by the bottom processors. They send it up the chain of command, or the chain of information, whatever. And so they deliver it to an it. So then for that it, from the perspective of that it, that information is its N livery. Was. This is the previous term. End of Shaber, we had this term, so about a month and a half ago. That's the N livery. Relative to that first bottom it that had received the initial N livery, that piece of information is its D livery and my N livery. Understand? And then I deliver, which is something that's there, the next guy's N livery. Okay. So then we were thinking, and because we can't be on Instagram, can't play Clash of Clans, can't play Bloat, we got some work done, which is cool. A lot of thinking about Manalaris. Just quick update, because that's how. So what we've got here is Alaris is the application of Eris. Of course, Eris is not me. It's an acronym for some values. I just call myself that because I want to promote that and represent that, or emulate that even. So an application of empiricism, reason, imagination, and skepticism in order to, what did I write? Alerus is the application of eris in order to advance the self or community toward truth. Okay, the monalerus, with the prefix mono, is the one-sided application of eris in order to advance the self toward truth. And that might not be directly that the self is advancing toward truth, but it might be that because part of monalerus is evaluating opportunities to advance toward truth. So someone says something to you that does not fit what you liver and what your gits and your yits and stuff. So now, should you change those, learn from that, or not? So part of monalerus is evaluating that using, critical recognition. Actually, yeah, it's not really an application of eris. Yes, reason, some critical reflection. In fact, monalerus is a technique of critical reflection. It's a way to achieve the objectives that I said, but a specific way to do that we're developing, I guess. And then some imagination, maybe what this guy is saying is right. Some skepticism, maybe it's wrong. And also maybe my current gits and yits, my current system, my current activity is wrong. The thing that is lacking from the acronym ERIS, because I hadn't understood this back then, is how important knowing the biases and fallacies is, so that you can have an ear out, several ears out, keep an eye out for them. Like ERIS, empiricism, reason, imagination, and skepticism are really great principles for a reasonable mind, but there's a certain thing that you need, because we're never going to be reasonable minds, and so we need to know that. That's the thing that we need in order to try to apply to be erisic. And that's critical recognition, of course. Now, if my last name is Sill, no. Critical recognition. Yeah, so ERIS, so it's not the application of, yeah, so it's the application of recognition and ERIS. Or maybe we can say I've recognized error. So trying to be empirical, reasonable, imaginative, and skeptical with a basis, a knowledge of sort of how the mind works and the things to look out for, the things to be sensitive to. So it's just unfortunate for me right now that's missing from Alerus, because really, technically speaking, ERIS just captures those values. No, that's okay. No, that's all right. It's the imagination and skepticism part. Brilliant. Okay, good. Oh, wow, great. That's great. So we don't have to change my name or anything. All right, great. So empiricism is like critical research. Okay. Reason is like critical reflection. Okay. And then imagination is being open to new possibilities. and skepticism, especially of the self, and I've always added that. And it works because in French, especially of self, it's like, well, not counting the of, it's ss, so it's eris, right? And then, right, and then the other possibility when I was naming myself could have been rehi instead of skepticism, humility. But yeah, no, it goes both ways. So skepticism is good. And then just say, especially of self. So, and that's part of, that comes from critical recognition. Or it's, at least it's enhanced by critical recognition. By knowing, I am a biological system. And not one that you know, all the evidence indicates not a very good one. So, and so, of course, I'm going to be skeptical of myself. I'm also going to be skeptical of you because you are also a biological system, and by all evidence, not a very good one as far as for doing dialectics, or even day-to-day stuff. So I'm skeptical. Yeah, okay, great. So it is an alaris or an alaris or whatever we want to call it. Alaris. What I've been saying, alaris, an alaris, an alaris. Let's do an alaris. All right, so alaris is any kind of application of eris. And in eris, you've got your E, which is related to critical research, your R, which is related to critical reflection, your I and S, which are related to critical recognition. Okay, very good. Then a monalaris is the one-sided application of that in order to advance the self toward truth. So I didn't know about critical recognition. I mean, I knew about biases and all that stuff, but I didn't really get it. I didn't really get that this important foundation of understanding that we are biological minds and what our nature and limits are before trying to go and be reasonable, quote unquote. Because you can't go interpret if you don't know how to sort of read your own interpretations, right? So long as you don't have critical recognition, of course, you just trust your interpretations. You trust something seems right to you. And especially if you're able to put some words to it and it comes out, then yeah, there's no tomfoolery happening here. I'm sold. I just gave a whole argument. Of course it's true. But with someone with critical recognition goes, I see no way that could be false. I see this, and this why it's true. But I'm a human brain, and this, and this might be bullshit, and I might not be seeing the value in that. Alright, let's imagine, let's do an alternate map. Let's imagine how I might have gotten to that. Besides the way that I think I got to that conclusion. Okay, very good. Okay, very good. And then dialaris is an interpersonal or an interkes. A kes is a claim, basically. So an eske, it's from the Bible. An eske is an esic is a dispute. And then either side of the dispute, the claims vying for, validation are each a kes. The keses. All right, so you have an inter-kes attempt at resolution, advancing the participants toward truth. So it's not one mind, has got to be two minds, okay? Because that changes everything once another mind is introduced. Because you can't trust yourself. You gotta talk to another mind. That mind doesn't have to actually represent the... Anyway, we're going to make a proper video about all this. Okay. Wealaris is then, let's say that some truth is identified, and people who had a different kes regarding the esic, they, even they all agree on this new Kaez, and so then or this new truth. So we so then Wealaris is the Arizic transmission of that. And of course, even the transmitters need to be skeptical of themselves, need to imagine they might be wrong, need to be check their empiricism and check their reason. And then the receivers also. And reception, we'll say, not just transmission. All right, brilliant. Okay, so that's great. That I shouldn't have all. I was a little bit of a tangent. Okay. So we were talking about for an interior it, right? An endo it, or an endroit. What it receives is its enlivery. What it sends is its delivery. But that's bullshit. It doesn't send anything. The information is distributed. Okay. So I was thinking yesterday, I was like, I mean, it's the information that it receives. It doesn't like receive anything or think about anything or whatever, but its enlivery really is all the sequences that begot it. It wouldn't have happened. I mean, it could have happened it could have happened another way, but it happened because a specific it happened. Specific soup it happened. And all of that activity, those are all the pixels. The fact that they happened are the pixels. The fact that those liveries got validated, happened, are the pixels of the picture received by this. This doesn't really receive a picture, but if this guy got activated, okay, for simplicity's sake, let's say there is only one way to activate this guy, okay, for simplicity's sake. If that guy got activated, that means that all of the things required for that guy to be activated were true. So that's the bet side, the if side. That's the condition for my being slapped. That's what slapped me. All of that being true, not just the last thing, because the last thing wouldn't have happened if it wasn't the last thing. So it's all included in what would be identified as having slapped me. And so it can be all included as sort of the information that made it to this point. Or that had to be true for us to be having this conversation. Okay. Then on the other side, it's like everything that... I gotta make a proper video where I explain all the, what did I call it? The weights? Or are we gonna call those zits? I don't know. Okay. So I was thinking about, hold on. Whatever. I was thinking about the ways, because, you know, ever since the beginning of voice theory, it was always important. What is the weight or the loudness of that voice? How big of a role does that voice play in the cognitive processes? Now, of course, it's it. So how big of a role does it play? What does it mean biologically or physically or in real terms? What would it mean for one it to be loud? Okay. Well, I think we came up with two things. And this is actually going to be pretty cool. I think this is going to be fun. I don't know what you're going to be able to see. Ah, fuck. I shouldn't not have erased that. And this might just even be audio, isn't it? But that's okay. Maybe I'll put in the description this part of it. Oh, let me do another video file. Okay, in case the two previous videos were audios on a driving video, let me just explain real quick. I have all my batteries are dead. I got no power. Well, pretty much. So that means that I'm recording on this GoPro, but it also means that I couldn't do anything on my phone or anything, and so got a bunch of stuff done. Okay, so now the last two videos kept teasing you about telling you about kind of a major change to the terminology. It's not a big deal actually at the time of posting this. Oh, I guess it will never be a big deal. It's just important because there are lots of videos where I use two terms, and I'm now going to be using different terms. And I wanna work through with you the reasoning here. Okay, so we've got the Masora. It's called the Masora because in my language, this means this. It's the thing that we're talking about. If you put an accent like that or something. So, okay, so that's good. This is the Masora, Masoret. Okay, so the Masoret was slapped. And that's my current notation for something being slapped. Okay. It was slapped. Okay, so this is how you note the bottom it, the first it, okay? So it was slapped by something outside or by something else in the sit stem, but we don't care. Once this it was slapped, it slapped these two. Okay. This one in turn, this is a summit here. All right, well, that's the stream. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's one stream. Boom, boom, boom. Another stream. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. Okay, so this doesn't receive information. That's what we were talking about in the other video, right? This doesn't really receive information. But the information that we can observe on this scale, given that this guy was slapped, given that he was slapped, so this is going to be cool. And then you could do if it inhibits. Try this. Like that, maybe. So, and even if something, like, let's say that this, okay, this slapped that. Okay. Yeah. That's cool. So here's another place where these, both of the its that followed this, or the sequence that followed this, the Suzit, there are two Suzits that started here. And here, this one, okay. Okay, so, see, this Suzit and this one collided here. They both slapped it, and it's a summit, so that was great. And then here, the blue one actually was sending out an inhibitory signal here. So even though this was sending out a positive signal, that inhibited it. So it died there. Anyway, all right, if this guy has been slapped, the fact that this guy has been slapped tells us, supposing that there's only one way to slap this guy, again, just grant me that, then if he slapped, the information, there's kinetic information there, like, that means that all those dudes, that means that those two Suzits that arrived here, so this is the only way to slap this guy. So it means that this is slapped, which means that those two specific Suzits happened. And that's kind of information, and maybe meaningless by the fact that never is it the case that there is only one sequence to activate something, to slap something. Anyway, so the in-livery is not this, actually. That's the point. The in-livery is not this. The in-livery, which, by the way, the in-livery is all of this. All the colored stuff that was slapped and begot that. That's the in-livery. Now, I got to thinking about, I thought of the fact that we have afferent, which we can remember as arrive, and efferent, which you can remember as exit. Just remember an exit sign, and that'll help you remember that pair. At least that's what helps me. Except I once told people that, and then came up when I was like 16, and then said, oh, but don't think of, and then I gave some other words that would be flipping the meanings, And then I had that stuck in my head for about 10 years. So anyway, but an exit sign. Imagine an exit sign. Okay? Now, so here we have afferent, efferent, right? So here's the thing. Well, look, long story short, this was called the enlivery, but no, that's not going to work. So the antelivery. Okay, so this way we can have it mean A, and I'll show you why in a second. The cool thing I was doing where I needed to be able to, with one letter, know what I was referring to. And when this was an E, and this was a D, the stuff that happens afterwards from this, that was no good, because it was E and D, whereas this is A and E, and the E's meant different things. So antelivery and antelivery and eklivery. We can be cool and do it with a K. All right, so then we don't know what other activity there will be. Nonetheless, well, so what I was thinking is like how you can maybe give weights, or maybe zits, and we'll see why in a second. All right, so let's bring forth again a mesuret. So here's our mesuret in the center here. Okay. All right, so no, actually, so here's what I've got. There's two ways to evaluate like the strength or roll or something of an it. Okay. How likely it is to slap. But of course another part is how likely to be slapped, because that matters too, doesn't it? Okay, that's great, it's likely to slap, but is it a strong it if it's not very likely to be slapped? Maybe, depending on use of strength, but you know what I mean? The things that we're looking for to describe the weight and the force of an it, don't we need to know how easy it is to activate it, and then also how easily it activates? Okay, so then let's do that. So we've got the so let's imagine, okay, oops, that's not good enough. Okay, so let's imagine we're charting an it in 2D. What could that look like? Hold on. Hey Neo, keep it down, buddy. Alright, so what could that look like? So that could look like so okay, so what are our axes? So let's make this the zit axis, and I don't like that, but I have to put a bar, even though that by itself means disagree, and I'm worried that's going to be confusing. Can you see all right? It's super dark. Anyway, that's the z axis, and then this is the kid axis. Okay, so K, Z. Okay. Okay, so starting at 0, okay? All right, let's put it up here. Okay, so zit maybe means that it sends signals very quickly to the next guy. But anyway, it's all right. Well, let's do kit first. Kit is how connected the cell is. Okay, how connected the it is. I mean, so on the so this is the fuck. How do I do this? Yeah, well, this is the eklivery. All right, that's great that that word's there still. Okay, so this is the eklivery quadrant, and this is the antelivery. Okay, not a specific antelivery, but we just mean the afferent, the before, the anti-activity. And then you plot it, okay? So you say, so for being slapped, this it is not very kit. It's around here. It's not very kit. It's not very connected. There's not a lot of activity that will slap it. And also, let's say it's also it's not even very zit on the dendritic side, on the anti side. Even the its that are connected to it don't have super strong connections to it. All right, so we plot that here. Okay. Okay. However, if by chance it does ekliver, it is connected to a whole bunch of subsequent its. That said, that it has more strength than the antelivery side, but it doesn't have a ton of strength. So even if it activates, it won't necessarily slap the its that it's connected to, but it is connected to a lot of its, so that makes the chance a little bit higher. So let me plot that there, and then we can describe this it as being that. And maybe it could be the origins. I mean, yeah, the whatever you call it. Shit. I'm sorry, buddy. We're gonna have to do that. Okay. Could be the origins. Maybe it could also be useful. I don't know how useful the angle is. Take the center point, and then what its angle is from zero or from horizontal. I don't know how useful that is. Or however you define a vector, describe a vector in math, maybe that's how you could describe an it. And that tells you, well, anyway, I don't know, because I don't know what about the segment, because if the segment's like this, that's a very different it. Sorry, even if those angles were drawn the same. So I don't know, you could do zones maybe. Yeah, you could describe an it with 4 letters. Wow, that's awesome. How awesome is that? That's so cool. Oh, well, this doesn't need to be involved. So if it goes like, M here, A, and then Z, and then 1 here, and then no, sorry, yeah, sure, no, 100 here, and no, we'll go 10 here, and 0 here. Then what we could say is 0, so it's like 4, so this is in zone 4B, let's say, and here it's in N3. So then it would be a 4B, B4, a B4 and 3. And if you're able to picture the thing a bit, then okay, if you know these first two symbols tell you how A, because this is the A zone, by the way. This is why I needed to change it from this was N liver and this was D liver. But when I was using A and E, I was like, shit, but this was N liver. And I was like, but shit, this is afferent. And so E represents N liver and not efferent. But E should represent efferent, because that already exists. So, eklivery and antelivery. And you can rate the kit zit of the antelivery. So this is the kit zit. This is the, and then this is the right. I think that's really, really cool. And I think it's really cool to have come up with that on my own. It's like a real I don't think that's nonsense. Alright, if it is, so be it. But I can feel proud until you show me it is. And also because this really isn't my thing. You know? I mean, it's not like high math or anything, but just even... I guess it is kind of my thing to think that way, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. Alright. So really, the temporal and spatial thing... Because kit, it doesn't describe... okay, so kit is how many... Not connections to a single cell it has. That would fall under zit. Right, okay. So zit is going to include both temporal and spatial summation. For the receiving cell. And then kit is a measurement of how many cells are going to be receiving. Are going to be getting even a little contact. So that's great. Okay, so anytime you hear me say N liver, okay, a couple things. One, how kit it is on the antelivery side does not actually tell you how many times it's going to liver, because conditions matter as well. How often are you in a situation where the antelivery could happen? And we have a word for that. That's called the... Or do we not? A sim is to expose the brain to stimuli it's not prepared for. Oh. Alright, well anyway, the environment. We're going to spell it differently. We're going to cut out that syllable since nobody says it anyway. The environment. Okay. So that also depends on the environment, right? Because anytime you consider human behavior, you have to consider the conditions, the its, and the consequence. So you have to consider the in liveries, the sit stem, the ex liveries. And so in this case, we're talking about the in liveries, which is the environment. So the environment, you must think I'm manic. Maybe I am. But I hope, anyway. It's a hypomania, though. The environment determines that, you know. But what you do know is that so it's like, don't go into certain situations if you know you've got an A0 social proof it. Okay, if you have an A0 social proof it, which means it's very kit and it's very zit, okay? So that social proof it, there's a lot that can stimulate it, and those things that can stimulate it have some strength, and so they can do so easily. Then don't go hang out with people that are doing something that you don't want to be doing, because you know that you will then start wanting to be doing that or thinking that it's okay. Maybe it is okay, but if you want to avoid that and you know you have an A0 social proof it, then avoid it. Especially if you know you have a Y9 social proof hit. Actually, that's the important thing, the Y9. That's a dangerous social proof hit. That means it's easily triggered, and it triggers a great deal. It triggers compliance quite quickly. It's kit to a whole bunch of things. A whole bunch of your thoughts are affected by the fact that other people are doing it. Yeah, so if you have an A0Y9 social proof, then you know you're in trouble, and that's okay. But you're gonna have to talk to an imam and figure out what to do about it. Now, if you have like an A0M5, I think it's probably unlikely that there are a whole lot of its like this. No, especially a whole lot of its that I think it's unlikely that there are very many A0M5 its. I don't understand why we would evolve to have instincts that are easily triggered but don't actually then liver happen. So I think that's probably pretty rare. If you have an A0, it's probably going to be closer to a Y9 on the eklivery side. And then if you have an now M5M5s, those might be quite common. Something just shy of M5 on the antelivery side, something just shy of M5 on the eklivery side. Because it should be balanced around the origin, right? If you're gonna have an instinct about something, and that's an instinct that's really kit in the system and really zit on the antelivery side, it's ready to go. Well, it's probably gonna be ready to do something. It's not just gonna be okay. It doesn't do anything, right? Now, that said, this doesn't actually necessarily indicate how consequential it may be. Because you could have an A0M5, but the one thing that it is connected to, even though it has a small signal, because it's an A0, at some point it's going to happen. And maybe that M5 is, I don't know, killing yourself or something. And so you never really sort of, you rarely do it. You haven't done it yet for decades and decades and decades. But a whole lot makes you think of it. But the suicidal instinct isn't itself strong enough to affect to ex-liver. And maybe all that it ek-livers is more thinking about it. But maybe sometimes that's enough. If it ek-livers that, then even an M5 with its fragile connection to a suicidal act, right? To a suicidal act through temporal summation, because this is so easily activated. And then by being activated, what it activates is more thinking about it. And then it like exponentially, it's slapping hard. And even though it had a tenuous connection, because it just keeps going and going and going and never lets up, eventually it slaps this. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, now here's the reason. All right, so can we do a screenshot of that? Terrible angle, or the wide angle's killing me. Hold on a second. Oh wait, no, we need to keep on a wide angle because I got to go up there. All right. Anyway, I hope that's good enough. Okay. Now here's why I had to put the K on the y-axis and the Z on the x-axis. Because here is the last thing I did before I had to chat with you. I was thinking about which orientation is better. Rather than having the it be diagonal like that, it'd always be on somewhat of an angle. Or, you know, summits will, but there'll always be summits that are on an angle. But here's some ideas I had. Oh shit, but this is, because I wanted this, shit, but I didn't think about this. Okay. But I like the idea of going up to produce behavior. But I'm sure in some languages and cultures it doesn't like that. Okay. Okay. Okay, so you could do it this way. Or you could do it this way. You know what we could call it? A Kaez Score. What's the Kaez Score of that it? Oh, that's an A0 M5. Oh, that's an A0 Y9. Oh, that's a little bitty M5 M5. Okay. So so this is our this is time, right? Okay, so this is our incoming. Okay, in livery. Oh no, we're just talking about one it. So, well, that's marked with. I'll just write it anyway. Antelivery. Eklivery. All right. So then what you do is, and this. All right. So this is Z. This is K. And now for what did we do? This is A. And this is Y. This is M. 5, the origin. This is 10. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. A to M. B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. So if A equals 0, then M equals 12. Okay. And then, oh no, but we gotta take out the K. Because we don't, so it's 11. And then to Y, NOPQRSTUVWXY. But then that's 12. It's not ideal. That's not ideal. If we put the K back in there, no, we can't have a K in the Kaez score. Can't do it. Okay. Okay, let's not Y. Because we should take out E and A as well, shouldn't we? Yeah, we need to take out E and A as well. What's happening? What's that light coming from? Whatever. We should take out E and A as well. Okay. So if B equals 0, B, C, D, F, G. Alright, hold on. Alright, here's what we need to do. Okay. How many letters are we taking out? 4. All of these K's, we're taking those out. Okay. So that leaves us with 22 letters. Very good. Okay. We're going to start at B, that's our first letter. B. And then that, which is actually the second letter. So then 21 letters later, the 23rd letter. 23, 4, 5, 6. Z, Y, X, W. So it's the Z axis, and that's W. Okay. Wait, what did I just do? Oh yeah, okay. And then what's the middle letter? So that would mean, how many letters did we say? 22. So 11 letters, including B. So 10 more letters after B. So yeah, the 12th letter, which is M, because we cut it down to W. So it's still M, right? So we go B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. No, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, L. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So 5 by 9. Okay. So that's, which, what? C, D, E, F, G, H, no, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, L, M. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then, right, okay. And then N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, so just V. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What? How do I keep getting fucking 10? What? Oh my gosh. Why is this so hard? Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm only at 17%. Okay, so, and I don't know whether that's actually readable. Also, these aren't right angles as they should be. But the Kaez value, here's the afferent, the antelivery, the eklivery, okay? And we're looking at the strength of the it for that, okay? So we have on the K-axis here, 0 to 9. So 5 sections on each side. And then on the Z-axis here, we have B to M, skipping some letters. Sorry, you just gotta learn it. Look, when someone says, you know, I got an F in a class, we don't go, whoa, that's a lot worse than a D. They're like, no, E is not a part of the system. So we're just gonna have to remember, E is not a part of the system, K is not a part of the system, and A is not a part of the system. And that's easy to remember because, of course, these values, it'll be confusing if we have that in here. Okay. If we had those letters. So here what we have is, we have a G0M9. A golf nil Mike Niner. It, which means, well, golf, that's not very far along the zit scale. So the things that trigger it don't have a super strong relationship to it. But it's all the way up at a 0 on the kid axis. So there's a lot that's connected to it. And this is an average, by the way, of the zit. The zit has to be an average. Yeah, the zit has to be an average or an observed value or something, I don't know. Yeah, so the zit is an average. The zit is the average. You take all those things that are connected to it, on average, blah, blah. Now, of course, you're talking about specifically between two its. You can't really describe how kit the two its are, because either they're kit or they're not. Well, actually, I guess that depends, because how many par its are involved. No, they can be. They can be, because we don't know what scale we're looking at. So maybe there's actually a whole bunch of its. And if this maybe is super kit to this, because it passes through a bunch of stuff and has an effect there, okay? So you can use kit to describe a relationship. Well, this is very kit. Look at all those connections between those two its. Or zit. It's kit and zit. Look how strong all those connections are between. Whoa. So that's a kit and zit. But here the Kaez value, or the Kaez value can be for a livery. You can have the livery Kaez value. So that's the interaction, the communication, the livraison of information. So you can have a livery Kaez score and a Mazoret Kaez score. Depends on whether you're talking about the livery or the given it. Excellent. Excellent. And I think we can learn to, you know, read something like this. I don't know how readable it is. It is weird having the values like that, you know. But also, I don't know. Time is, by the way, going this way, of course, because this is the afferent, the anti-activity, A-N-T-E, the anti-activity, the anti-livery, and then here's the eklivery. Okay. Right. And if you did so this, we've been doing a Mazoret Kaez. That's what I've been having in mind. If you did a livery Kaez, yeah, you could rate how strong the connection is here, and then also how many connections. That seems a little weird to me, but yeah. Yeah, if it's the most elemental it, that doesn't make sense to me. It only makes sense to zit between. But if they're two distant its, then there could be lots of ways in which they're connected. Yeah, absolutely. And then you just rate it. You say, but then how do you don't have an afferent and an efferent. Okay, so then you only use, if you're describing, if you're doing a livery Kaez score, you just do, you just stay in this quadrant. Okay, so livery Kaez score can be anything from a livery Kaez score can be anything from B0 to G0 to B4 to G4. Anything in that, anything in there. And then a Masoret Kaez score can be anything in both, so that can be anything from, I'm not going to write them out. Oh yeah, I will. So that can be, so that'll be that for the antelivery, and then for the eklivery, or the eklivery, it'll be anywhere from, let's go from left to right again. H5 to M5 to H9 to M9. Oh no, because the score would include one of those. So any possible combinations here then. That's what I'm trying to say. So this could be a Masoret score, Kaez score. This could be a Masoret Kaez score, or anything in between. All right, excellent. We've done some great work today. I'm making it so easy for y'all. There's so much here ready for you once y'all accept that you're not souls. And when you're ready to really actually try to understand the mind, I have given you not an understanding, but the basics, a nice jumping off point. This might be complete bullshit, but at least I think it's fun to imagine it that way. And let's get us thinking, how could we think about our cognitive processes, the strength of a cognitive process in the system? The strength of an endwa. That's great. That's great. Okay, I'm at 11%, so I gotta go. Anything else? I mean, this is what you're gonna have for like personality tests. Oh yeah, but I was dating her, but you know what I realized? I realized that her in-group, out-group bias was what was her in-group, out-group bias? It was a B0 M9. And that was before an A0Y9, but now, oh, a B0 M9. That her in-group, out-group, it is a B0 M9. Not good, bro. So it's super easily triggered. Any sort of slight thing, and she feels like she's talking to the other, or let's just say her out-group it, because it's really a pair of it. So let's just say her out-group it. And oh, so whoa, that's super easily triggered. And then she won't just like close her purse. Nah, she will like be watching the person, and if the person just looks at her the wrong way, she is going to call the police. All right, cool. Boom. Boom. This is what you pay me for, Dad. Mom, thank you. Okay, but you might be thinking like, but how do you determine the Kaez value? I understand now what a Kaez value is, but how do you figure out whether it's B0M9 or our basic one, our little guy is going to be it's going to be G4 H5, right? That's a little one. Right, so this is like the smallest strength it, and this is the biggest strength it. And so how do you figure out if it's B or if it's G or if it's... Okay, well, let's take a look at that first. For the zit, No, I don't want to look at that first because I have no idea. Well, it could be... I gotta look more at neuronal transmission to see what that could mean biologically. KIT, though, could just be you observe the brain for an hour. You try to put it in an environment that's, you know I have a word for that already. You put it in an environment that's kind of normal, or a case value could be context dependent. Or you can try to find a baseline and do it that anyway. You observe the activity, and you. I don't know. I don't know. But somehow I don't know specifically. But somehow, you'd be observing how many connections it has. Or, in not long, you'll literally be able to just observe it. Just look at the connectome. So this the its would have Kaez values in the connectome. Because the arrangement is one thing, but you also need the strength of the connections. Whoa, that's pretty awesome, dude. That's pretty awesome, bro. So because a connectome is nothing. I mean, I guess if it's a clear enough connectome, you actually see how many dendrites there are, how many receptors there are, and so on. Then yeah, but you could do. Well, anyway, for the maps, for the map-its, we definitely need Kaez values. Because it's one thing to say A causes B causes C causes D causes E. But how likely is A to cause B? How likely is B to cause C? That's what's important. Alright, great. What did I just record again for? Oh yeah, how do you get them? Yeah, I don't know. The KIT axis is obviously just like count the fucking connections or something. And then I have to learn more about neurotransmission to learn whether ZIT, for instance, could be how many receptors there are, could be how loaded the antelivery is with neurotransmitters. I have no idea. Are you happy to see me? Realize I have another battery. So, can you see me okay? You don't actually need to. So, we were called Homo sapiens. Well, we still call ourselves that. And we still are that biologically. But I think it's the first time that we need cultural species names. We're good at biological species names, and it's a question of whether or not you can reproduce. But a cultural species name is about whether or not the two people can live together, can have goals and can have any goals at all in common, and approaches in common, and so on. I could not live with a Neanderthal. We're not, because some people, I was reading that for some, the Neanderthal might be another subspecies of Homo sapiens. So we're Homo sapiens sapiens. I asked my dad about that. He had no idea what I was talking about. But I knew that we are Homo sapiens sapiens, that sometimes we're referred to as a subspecies. But I didn't know that Neanderthal sometimes are also considered as a subspecies of Homo sapiens. So maybe Homo sapiens neanderthalis, I don't know. So I am of a different biological species. And I could live with a Neanderthal, but I could not sort of live with a Neanderthal, exist with, work together. His language abilities were very different, the whole morality thing. Then again, if we're biologically closely enough related, can he then learn those things? Yeah, maybe. In which case, I guess we can live together. Okay, so I don't know what the definition of differentiating between cultural species is. And maybe there is no useful thing, but here's what I wanted to say anyway. So, I always disliked that we're called Homo sapiens. Because I think we're fucking idiots. Now, early Homo sapiens... So sapient is an adjective, right? Wise or knowledgeable. It doesn't mean having all knowledge, doesn't mean having all wisdom, but it means having some knowledge and some wisdom relative to the recent history and other species. So the species that we want to first label, the individuals we want to first label as Homo sapiens, relative to their ancestors and relative to the other species, they were knowledgeable and wise. Okay, very good. And that's still the case. Here's the thing, though. We are in the process of destroying ourselves because we have overestimated just how wise we are. We think we have intelligence. We think it's something that can be had, that's binary, we have it or we don't. It's just that we're more intelligent than dolphins and dogs and chimps and stuff, but we don't have intelligence in the sense of having a rational, conscious, intelligent soul that is able to perceive and judge reality. Getting very, very hot. But we came under the impression that we had all these really imaginative and wild interpretations, and intellectual activity, but it got to be too much because my dog can't be dangerous. Like, he's smart, but it's never dangerous. It's never like he's thinking, man, I'm so powerful that if I think that if I'm barking at someone, that means that that person really is bad, and I should just go in there and eat them because I'm rational. Why would I be barking at them if they weren't bad? Yeah, I guess that's a good enough example. Or hey, we should design this whole system, and we'll all be able to adapt to it. It's hard to come up with an example, because we're the only species to have done it. To have had some abilities, some impressive abilities, and then to ourselves have misinterpreted or misjudged how impressive those abilities were, and so start actually hurting ourselves by having expectations, and what was the other word I had? Expectations and no. So Homo sapiens, they were wise for their time and for their recent history. So Homo sapiens existed before year 0, human era. Okay. Right before we have agriculture. We can call that species culturally, not biologically, Homo sapiens. Well, also biologically. But Homo sapiens goes back 300,000 years. But let's say culturally, the Homo sapiens term, let's not use it once we settle down for agriculture. Because then start having these great big societies, and we start really overstepping our actual abilities and stuff. So the culture, the demands and expectations greatly outpaced the ability and actual wisdom. So you can no longer call us Homo sapiens, because relative to our time, relative to our current systems, we were no longer wise. I mean, relative to our contemporary systems, we are no longer wise as today. So we are still what I call Homo arrogans. And I've used that term for years, but now it is a cultural biological term, a cultural specific term, not a biological specific term. Before year 0 human era is Homo sapiens. From year 0 until, let's say, at least, I would guess it'll take a lot of generations, I think. Well, also, maybe I just want to think I'm special. I'm so ahead. I put here 12,500. So 12,500, that's about 500 years from now. So between 0 and 12,500 of the human era, that would be Homo arrogans. And then what's coming, and what I'm hoping members of this cultural species watch these videos to see how, what's the word? Perspicace? Anyway, you understand what I'm trying to say. That I am. And so I want to call them the people of the future who not only have some pretty impressive abilities, but also have knowledge about those abilities. I got a name for them, but I want to build up to it a little bit more. Because Homo sapiens, I always thought it meant wise man, but it can also be translated as knowledgeable man, right? And I was thinking, see, I would love to, so I was thinking, oh, okay, knowledgeable man. Like they have knowledge, but they didn't have science. Fuck you, they had knowledge. So I want to call the future species, because right now I'm a Homo sapiens. I mean, even if I have Homo, what I'm going to tell you, tendencies, I exist in the time of Homo sapiens, therefore I am Homo sapiens. A cultural specific term can only be used if it's the culture. Okay, so I am a predecessor of this other Homo, but I am Homo sapiens. I'm a member of Homo sapiens, of the Homo sapien culture. Of, wow, we're so smart. What's a bias? What's a fallacy? I don't know. I don't care. By the way, I'm actually a soul, guys. That's Homo sapiens. Okay. So I was thinking about using knowledgeable, but whatever. There's another term that immediately came to mind for knowledge, because we're already called Homo sapiens, which is gnosis. So if you're agnostic, you are A, the prefix for being not, and then gnostic, meaning having spiritual knowledge, or just having knowledge. So sapiens is Latin. Yeah, from sapio, which is like I discern. So it means like, it's the, so discerning. It's the, or being discerned. It's the passive active participle of sapio. The present active particle, yeah, so discerning. Yeah. So we are discerning man, Homo discerning. Actually, we're not. Oh, sorry. Fuck. All this time I've been saying I'm Homo sapiens. I'm Homo arrogans. Sorry. Homo sapiens was dead by the time we had language, technology, laws, systems that were much bigger than us. Now it's Homo arrogans, because we have all these systems, but we can't actually, they're not actually like good for us. We don't actually know how to exist in them. So I'm sorry, I'm Homo arrogans. I am of Homo arrogans, but I like to think of myself as a predecessor for, okay, so gnosis is like spiritual knowledge. So anyway, so I Googled gnosis adjective because, no, I shouldn't have Googled gnosis adjective. No, because I want to know, okay, so if the sapio, the Latin word sapio, which means maybe discern or I discern, if the present active particle is sapiens, meaning discerning, if I understand present active particle correctly, if it's discerning, then I would want knowing or something, right? So I needed to be able to conjugate gnosis or whatever it is. So I Googled agnostic, clicked on the Wikipedia for gnosis. No, is that what I did? Some point I did that, but that's not what I did just now. No, oh, so then I thought, okay, gnosis is one option, but also, and maybe I'll look at the conjugation for that, but first, let's check out self-awareness, because it's not really knowledge. Talk about knowledge about the self, so self-awareness. So I typed into Google, no. Am I using Bing? I think it's Bing on this tablet. Yeah, this definitely isn't Google. Oh, it is Bing. So I typed in self-awareness, ancient Greek. And the first result is a Wikipedia article, Know Thyself. Okay? Which I've heard, but I didn't know it was like a Greek thing. Anyway, it's a philosophical maxim, blah, blah, blah. And it is the best known of the Delphic maxims. And the quote in Greek is Naphi, like gnosis, Naphi, soton. Naphi being no, and soton, I guess, being some reflexive you. Okay. So we're back to gnosis. So, you know what? I feel like that's kind of perfect, because when I think of the Latins, the Romans, I think of them being all about making systems, and, you know, you've got, you know, I mean, the Greeks obviously were as well, but I associate more philosophy with the Greeks. And Romans, it's about the systems and the pretense and being fancy and all this stuff. Whereas the Greeks, I associate more with actual, like, knowledge. You know, the Greeks were philosophers, the Romans were politicians, kind of thing. And Homo arrogans, politicians, bro, are all like, oh yeah, we're wearing the suit and tie, the stupid fabric, and we think that it's supposed to, and then it looks different to us, this stupid fabric from some other stupid fabric. And oh, dress up, we use big words we don't understand, and make policies that nobody can really follow or understand, and we have democracy where people are going to vote. Idiots who have no idea what the different platforms are and who are mostly voting by facial anatomy, you know, stuff like that. That's Homo arrogans. Alright, very good. Sorry, no, that's Homo sapiens. Sapien is what's Latin. But when we named ourselves Homo sapiens, we were already Homo arrogans. Hence why we named ourselves wise. But now I'm giving you permission, if you're watching this in about 250 years, and if people, if psychology and health sciences stuff are part of our everyday lives, I mean, information from that, because health is already, and psychology is already every day happening. But an understanding of that is prevalent, then you guys have earned Homo Nothus. So back to the Kaez score, because I've been talking about, the last video I made was Homo Nothus. Back to the Kaez score. So first thing I thought is that my humility So I was looking at the board here, and I was thinking, and I was remembering the video I recorded about it, and how there was a moment when I was recording where that looked like a real thing to me. You can't maybe see from here, but it says Kaez value somewhere on the board. And that looks like a real thing to me. Like a real thing. Like something you'd see on Wikipedia or learn about in a class. Except it isn't yet a real thing. I just came up with that today. And so there was this pretty cool feeling that I had. As those things co-livered. The fact that I came up with this today and it seems like a legitimate thing. So then in the video, I think I said, this is pretty cool. And then at some point in the video later, or immediately after that, I said, I mean, even if it's all bullshit, this is a cool perspective on thoughts. A cool, I don't have the word for it, but like a cool way to start thinking about how we can measure thoughts or measure our psychological elements. So I was thinking about having said that, and that like, and I was kind of comparing that to, let's say that this turns out to be a legitimate thing. Then one might say that I have reasons now. If it's going to turn out to be a legitimate thing, maybe there are reasons already available that it's going to be a legitimate thing. Maybe even the reasons that I invented it. Maybe I invented it because I saw a real need for it. And then if that's true, then it will be an important thing. But I of course have a great deal of epistemic humility, and so it's the only thing I'm not humble about, my humility, because when I was humble about my humility for the first much of my life, I just went crazy. So so I can be confident in my humility, I think, and so anyway, so then I started thinking about my humility, the fact that, like, I do this thing, and there's a lot of me that's going, this is good, but sort of the loudest parts of me are going, it's probably bullshit, or it might be bullshit, or there's so much that we still don't know, and there's so many gaps that I don't see, but that are likely there in the shadows. And so that feeling of, even though this feels inchoate, that it probably is inchoate. And that's an important thing for anybody to be able to do. I think I was imagining someone else being in this situation, having come up with this, and it looks impressive. Numbers and graphs and different colors and, words that aren't real words yet. And it just looks impressive, romantic. And so another sit stem in my position in this environment could go, oh my gosh, I've cracked it. I figured it out. And part of me is feeling a little bit of that. But it's pretty drowned out by, I don't know what this is worth. I'm just throwing it in there. And I am, and if you take the average of my life, I am plagued by humility. It is a pathological self-doubt. Not really sort of about abilities, but about truth, I guess, or access to truth, or how my truth or the things that I think to be true compared to, the truth value of other people's truths. So my epistemic humility, my intellectual humility, my skepticism of self, it would be a B0. I'm exaggerating, but I would put it at that end of the spectrum. So it would be a B0. It is high kit and high zit, or. Actually, I don't really know, do I? I don't know whether but since it's like all the time, it feels like. I feel like I can't have a thought and believe in it and just move to the next thought. I can't have a thought without an op-ed. Because it's so often, is it so often? I don't know. Maybe in other environments, it doesn't happen. In which case, it doesn't necessarily have to be very kit on the antelivery side. It could just be very zit. So when I'm thinking by myself, and I have a thought, in that specific condition, there's a very strong activation of a very strong slapping of the humility. But no, when I'm having conversations with people, so I don't know, it seems very kit, but I don't really know what I'm talking about, because this is for y'all to study, but it seems very kit based on the fact that it seems to be so often, and just like with everything, like there's nothing I'm certain about. Nothing. I don't have a whole lot of questions about my abilities. So it isn't a zero kit, because in situations, if I'm thinking about like my abilities, like could I write a really good book? I'm pretty confident that I could. Of course, I'd have to do it to know that, but there isn't like, oh, you know what, maybe I can't, or maybe I'm bad at this, maybe I'm bad at that. No, I don't have that activity. So if we're talking about, in general, my humility, it's not, we have to drop it down to maybe a 1 or a 2 from 0. I don't know, that should be 10 or 0. Anyway, let's keep it 0. So we drop it down to like a 2. Because although my ability humility, there isn't much kit between my assessments of my ability and my instinct to be humble and self-doubt and so on. Consider alternatives where I'm wrong or not the thing that I think myself to be or whatever. So humility in general, because that kind of humility isn't there, I mean, it depends on how you define humility, of course. We're defining it as self-doubt, or are we just defining it as lack of arrogance? And I don't think I would say as far as that I'm arrogant about my abilities. No. There are lots of things that I'm not good at. I'm pretty good at thinking, but not at necessarily getting results, but at avoiding or not committing as many intellectual errors, I guess. But that's it. So I can't affirm to be able to do anything with these abilities, or that they are abilities where I can bring about a goal. But if that makes any sense. But so let's put it at a 1. How kit my humility instinct is, because yeah, it does get triggered by certain things about my abilities. But anyway, it's just not everything. Not everything triggers an active humility, an active skepticism of self, an active remise en cause of self. So let's put it at a 1. And then what's the other axis? Oh, and then how strong it is? I have no idea. Because honestly, if it's a 1, that's so kit that doesn't have to be super strong. So you just have to research. You just have to look at my brain to find out. But so I was going to say that I would think that, at first I was thinking that my humility instinct is a B0 M9. But no, definitely not. Let's go, like, I would estimate, like, it happens all the time. And it happens immediately. So yeah, let's go a C1. And then, but then what is the output? What on the eklivery side, what happens with it? I'll say something, I'll have thoughts, that are in opposition to the previous thought. And maybe I'm overestimating it, because it's not like I do sometimes get stuck in a loop, but it's not like I just keep going. Let's go a 2 on kit. Let's go a D2. Let's go a D2 on the antelivery side. No, but then we're getting close to average, and it's definitely no. Okay, we'll go a C1. No, let's go a C0, bro. Let's just do it. It's pretty much all the time. Yeah. Let's go a C0 on the antelivery side. And on the eklivery side, and this is the point, it would be closer to the origin. No, would it be? Because if I believed in all of these ideas, first of all, I wouldn't have these ideas if I weren't as humble as I am. Okay? That's one thing. There's so many errors I had to see this stuff. Look. Because what you want to be able to do is compare it. Okay? So you know that 2 its are gonna op. And you want to know, so you find out the Kaez value of the 2 its that you know are gonna op. So for instance, let's take my dog. I throw the ball, and so I have slapped his it. If there is a moving ball, then go get it. And also there is a dog nearby that he has not smelled yet. And that condition slaps the it. If there is a new dog nearby, go smell it. Okay. So it's not important, in the antelivery thing, it's not important how often the situation happens. But when it happens, how kit is it? That seems meaningless. Like either he sees the dog or he doesn't. Well, no, because you can see a dog but not notice it. He can smell it but not notice it. And it doesn't actually trigger the it. But anyway, so regardless of whether it's triggered, we look at the eklivery case value, which for his let's say of I go get the ball, let's say is an M9. It's a very strong and very well connected thing. Or maybe all that matters is the 9, how zit it is. And then we look at, what's this one? The ball. And then for when there's a new dog nearby, that's a 5. Oh, okay. So we know that if you throw a ball when there's a new dog around, this will sir-liver this. And he will go to the ball. So I think it is something. And it just has to leave it to the mathematicians to figure out how it would work. But, yeah. And then it's harder for a dog, I think, because there are fewer its and competition between its and so on. Now, if you had, of course, because in reality, his is more like, I don't know what the, how, oh, sorry, the number is the kit, how kit it is. Maybe we'll change that. But let's say that the number is how kit it is. I think we should change that. I think we should change that. Letters should be a scale of intensity and numbers should be numbers. Okay, I think we should change that. So, oh, and but it's still gonna look like this because the letter is first. So it goes KZ, KZ. Yeah, okay. Okay, so that's okay. So switch numbers and letters. All right, whatever. Okay. So this does represent. So this does represent this. This represents now the zit, and it sort of did anyway because I was confused. At the same time, I was thinking of this as the zit, and also the zit is of course letters. But okay, now the zit is numbers. This is the zit. Great. So then you have like. Yeah, so he sees a new dog. That's gonna be an 8. That's gonna be a strong impulse to go to that dog. But the moving ball. Right. So if it's moving, if we're talking about a moving ball, if we're talking about the it for a moving ball, it'll win out. But if the dog moves as well, so if we talk about some other it, where it's if there's a running dog. Or a running ball. If there's a running dog, then go after it. We're gonna knock that up to an M9. And then somehow we have to retroactively adjust this. We can say that's an L. 9's fine, an L9. They're both very strong instincts, but the dog instinct is more kit, perhaps, we're speculating, and so it just has more votes. It has more voting power, even though their votes count for equally, this guy's just pulling more strings. Okay, I think it's good stuff. Let me know what you think. Continuing, 2024 Aber 03 Eddie. It's now, don't know what time it is, maybe 6, and so 1800, and the last couple of videos, I think it was a couple different files, so it'll be a few different bancans. about the Kaez value. Originally, what I wanted to say was that maybe we could define anxiety as being when you have a lot of B0, H5 its. Meaning, B0 is on the extreme end, on the antelivery side, and on the extreme positive, or, high end. And then H5 is on the low end, on the eklivery side. So closer to the origin. So when you have a lot of B0H5 its, then you've got alarms that are very sensitive, mechanisms that sort of want to act, but then don't really lead to anything, affect any behavior or anything. And so the situations remain. And ideally, if the alarms are so sensitive, then there would be great measures taken to either adjust those alarms or change the exterior situation, whatever. But so they're just kind of, if there are a lot of ineffective its, a lot of things that are triggered without actually doing something, then that would lead to a state of anxiety, wouldn't it? When you have a lot of things up in the air. And it would explain the Zeigarnik effect, which is where we stop worrying about things when we come up with a plan for how to tackle them. The step-by-step, Henry Allen or Roy Baumeister said, one of them said, 45-step or something plan. Really detailed plan. And then that will feel addressed. And so that alarm won't be going off as much. So that's sort of an exterior way of changing the conditions so that you're sensitive. No, what you're doing is you're extending the eklivery. You're doing something about the anxiety. You're anxious about this thing, then think about this thing until you find a solution. Not just keep running the alarm and listening to the alarm, but do something about it. So when people are very affected but don't do much, could that be like anxiety? I think so. I don't do much relative to how much sort of affects me, or how much slaps me, and how much activity there is, and how sensitive it is to getting slapped. Now, the little that I do, this thinking and these scribbles on the board, may end up being a big consequence. But I'm still out here being anxious, having all these thoughts and doubts and stuff. If I actually designed experiments, if that were the eklivery, if that anxiety had a really powerful effect on my behavior and thinking, not just interrupting it, but on slapping new behaviors and thoughts, then maybe I wouldn't be so anxious. I don't know. And then how do you reconcile that possible explanation of anxiety with just that it's serotonin irregular or poor serotonin regulation? Well, I don't know yet. I will Google it once I can use my computer again. But what that could mean is serotonin, the chemical activity, that's on the z-axis. So a sensitivity, a sensitive alarm system would mean high zit on the antelivery side. And maybe, biologically, chemically speaking, indeed there is an overactivity of serotonin leading up to or on the pre-decision side. And then maybe no decision feels like the right one because of less serotonin activity on the eklivery side of things. But maybe anxiety is either just too much or too much serotonergic activity or just too little, in which case that would undermine that. So we'll have to look into that. Serotonergic? I don't know. Oh, and by the way, again, 24 Echo, 03 Echo, and then on the screen it should say what time or which one this is. Hopefully it's the fucking last one, but I still feel energy. So, but I'm tired. I don't want to think anymore. But I still, yeah. So this is much better. Oh, but no. What was I gonna say? Oh, right. So it would be an average of observed eklivery. Psychologists would come up with a bunch of a battery of environments, a battery of conditions, and then observe the output behavior. And all of that, and then, 5 hours of this, maybe over the course of some time. I don't know how you control for different variables, but that's not my job. I'm not the experimenter. But you do that, and then you find an average of, but how do you know whether you're measuring the eklivery side or the antelivery side? Because maybe that it never got slapped. So okay. The kit value of the Kaez score is a measure of the number of possible permutations of antelivery that could, slap the mesorit. And then or eklivery. But the kit score is the number of permutations. Okay, on the antelivery side, it's the number of permutations that could that could slap the mesorit. On the eklivery side, it's like when slapped, the number of times that it can be observed in the behavior. But that's like really hard to judge, right? But somebody will figure it out, maybe. Okay. So the antelivery kit score is the number of permutations on a scale of 0 to the whatever outrageous quadrillion number. No, because there's no case in which every single permutation slaps that. But then how do you even do it? Because it depends on how often you break up the its into parits. So some research will have to find what's the average number. No, what is the average maximum number of? Then how do you define the its? Are you talking about how detailed are you getting with the its? No, but there's a mathematician watching this probably knows exactly the solution. So that reassures me. But also I want to know if if this is complete bullshit. So I want to see whether I can figure something out to legitimize it. So we've got a 5 scale, and that's good because we want the digits to go from 0 to 9. It's the maximum number of digits for a single digit. Unless we invent other symbols, but we don't want to do that right now. So, or, at this point, we don't think that's necessary. So we have a 5-point scale in every direction. So what does it mean to fucking be a 1 or a 5 on that scale? Or a B or a G or whatever. It's proportion of... It has to be a proportion if we're doing a scale. 1, it's out of 5. 5 is out of 5. So for the eklivery side, I think this just might be beyond my understanding. And it sucks because even if I lived to 80, I still wouldn't be able to be alive to have this conversation based on actual evidence. That's not true. Because I can't judge where the psychologists are at by where the people are at. But I'm not going to be working in a lab. Gosh, I could. You know what? I've got some pretty good stuff here. I should contact some researchers. That could be my next thing. Maybe I don't have to go to Africa just yet. And go sire in Africa. I can look at neuroscience research. Cognitive neuroscientist. And see whether I have anybody that might be interested in listening to this. They're not going to take it seriously if they think that humans are rational, or that we are souls, or there's such a thing as an absolute consciousness, or whatever. But there are a lot of computational neuroscientists. Now they say that, I'm like, they're probably actually really far ahead. But I need to know that. What is computational neuroscience? Okay. Alright. While you're with me here, let's write this down. Find Spanish comp neuros. That's the next step. Well, we still have a lot more work to do, but we can look for them. And we can look at their research and stuff. Alright, that's okay, good. Alright, good. Alright, it's up. Alright, I'll let you go. Bye, thank you. Alright, I still have 11 minutes on this chip. So 24 echo, 3 echo, yeah, sometime after 6, I'm guessing. Maybe 7, I don't know. Actually, I can find out. I still have a fire tablet. Oh, it's 8. Okay. So, before, when I said there for 6 in the previous video, it was actually like 15 minutes ago. Okay. So, biologically, how could you determine the Kaez score? Biologically, you could count the number of dendritic, receptors the cell has, maybe. Or you could maybe, with a connectome, and empirically, determined connectome, you could run an algorithm and see how many, introduce it to a bunch of normal situations, and how many of the times, how many of the conditions. No. You count the dendritic connections, and also to bottom its. That's important. How many pathways are there from bottom its to the mesorit? Maybe that's one way. I don't know, or two ways. And those are different, obviously, definitions of the Kaez score. But either way, I mean, not the definitions of the Kaez score. It's different. They're different values. But either way, it's a scale of how sensitive the it is, how likely it is to be slapped. And then to biologically get an empirical biological Kaez score on the eklivery side. No, sorry, that was for kit antelivery. And then for kit eklivery, it would be you can just physically stimulate it. If you identify the neurons that compose the it, stimulate it, that network, and see how much activity you see elsewhere. Or no, you could just count the axon terminals, maybe. I don't know how useful that would be, but maybe that would be it. Or the other thing. I'm still tempted to say that maybe there's something useful, but you know what? Now I'm being arrogant. To even be continuing to think about this like I might have the answers, when actually I know for a fact that mathematics is at a point, and whatever this is at a point where solutions have been found to the things that are stumping me right now. Assuming that what I'm saying isn't complete bullshit and worthless. I know that for a fact. Just probability. There's just, because I know there's lots of things with graphs and data, lots of data stuff. So I'm confident, but we need some way on the antelivery side to, we need to measure the antelivery, or the likelihood. It's just very simply the likelihood of an it being activated, and then the likelihood of that it slapping the other ones. Because so the metaphor breaks apart, because I can slap like this, and that has nothing to do with the next guy, the guy I slapped, amount of power I slapped. But slap is actually about activation. So I can hit super hard, but if the guy doesn't move, he hasn't been slapped. He's just been hyped. So how likely it is that my hyping, that in my eklivery, that my hyping will slap him and get him to hype the next cell with his eklivery, or the next it with his eklivery. No, but his eklivery is included in my eklivery. That's the whole point. Is that on either side of me, as the mesorit, on either side of me, everything that led to me is my condition, and everything I cause is my consequent. So what he causes, after having been caused by me, is a part of my cause. I mean, a part of my results, a part of what I cause, a part of my eklivery. So on the eklivery side, if you want a Kaez score, I mean, it is about the eklivery. it doesn't mean that even though it had a super high eklivery Kaez score, and then maybe we see that it didn't X-liver though, but maybe because it was sur-livered. But how often does its eklivery X-liver? Or how often is its eklivery an X-livery? I think I just asked the same question again. So I talked about biologically. I don't know whether I actually said anything of value, but if you're still listening, then maybe you think that I have, or you don't think that I haven't. And so let's just finish. So then biologically, but then like computationally. Oh, computational, I talked about the algorithm. I talked about the biological, the permutations and all that. How many of the possible permutations of activity from the bottom ends. Yeah, right. So if I trigger, so let's say, and we'll let a quantum computer do this, but for simplicity's sake, let's say there are 10 bottom ends. There's taste, smell, or there's tasting good stuff, tasting bad stuff, smelling good stuff, smelling bad stuff, seeing good stuff, seeing bad stuff, feeling good stuff, feeling bad stuff, and hearing good stuff and hearing bad stuff. Those are the bottom ends. That's it. Either something you avant or you averse. Okay? Then there's a finite, an enormous, but a finite number of ones that I can trigger. Maybe I just trigger one of them. Maybe I trigger these two. Maybe I trigger those three. Maybe I trigger these four, etc. An absolutely incredible number. Oh, and what if it's logarithmic? What if it's logarithmic? The scale here. Meaning that you just look at, maybe I don't know what logarithmic is, but if you just like look at the exponent or the orders of magnitude from the number, that might be really impressive what I just said. So if there are quadrillion, that's just such a meaningless number for it theory. But anyway, I mean, let's say that you can break those quadrillion into a couple of thousand Susits. But objectively speaking, looking at neurons, there's a quadrillion ways that it can be slapped. No, it's got to be so much more, right? I'm just thinking of like chess. All right, whatever. It's 2 to the 100. I don't care. Whatever it is. And then how many of those... no, sorry. That's the number, not of that can slap that. But that could slap that? We gotta look into some cellular biology and some computational neuroscience. And you know what? Fuck it. We're 33. We've been doing this for a while. What's the big deal if we send a couple emails? Yes, we'll feel like an absolute fool, a fraud, and so on, because we know we got that humility But so what? If we're a fraud, then we waste some of his time. Okay. We're not going to waste much of his time. A lunch. All right, 2 minutes left on the card. 2024 Echo 03 Echo 2010. There's something I've been meaning to say. A few videos back, I had started recording to say something, which is that I was looking at this. Oh, this is super widescreen. I was looking at this about the livery Kaez score as opposed to the Desierto Kaez score. The livery Kaez score being the Kaez score of a pair of Susits or its or whatever. And because before I had said that it would just be something like that. No, it was on the other side though. So just be something like that. It wouldn't be a 4-character score, it'd be just a 2-character score. Because you're not talking about either side of an it, you're just talking about one thing between the its. But because it's between two its, maybe it can be, maybe it would be a 4-letter thing. You could say you could give a score to the antelivery of this and the eklivery of this, maybe. Maybe it would be an 8-character thing. The antelivery, the eklivery, the antelivery, the eklivery. Or maybe 6. Yeah, the antelivery, a kit and a zit score for this, right? Because the number of connections this has to this is the same as the number of connections this has to this. And the strength of the connections between this and this is the same as the strength connections between this and this. So it would be a 6-character thing. No, so it would be 2 characters just to describe this then. Okay, so back to what I said originally. If you're describing the pair, okay, it could be 6 characters, but why are you describing a pair? But if you're just describing this 2 characters, okay, I only have 15 seconds left. All right, bye. 24 Echo 03 Echo. Listen, bud. Of course, this is probably bullshit. I just came up with this today. The point is that it's still an impressive first effort to measuring or having a way to compare the values of its or the weights of its. And it's something I wanted to do for a while. So this is cool for a first draft. So if this is activated, I don't know what the value system would be. But here's what I wrote in my notebook. This felt high to me, a 4. Okay. So if you wanted to do the eklivery for the mesorate here, if you wanted to do an eklivery for the mesorate, meaning the given it, if you want to do the eklivery for the mesorate, well, you say, well, look, this has a super strong connection here. So that's like a 4, whatever unit or whatever. I don't know whether it means, or whether it should be some kind of a percentage of chances that this will activate, given normal baseline activity, and this, or this happening in isolation, I don't know, okay? Then this has a pretty weak connection here. So it's like a 0.5. But if it does make it there, then like this guy is such a strong eklivery here, or such a strong something, weight or something, that if the mesorate slaps this guy is gonna run. So it stays at 0.5. Whereas up here, even though it's likely that this is gonna, liver, the subsequent there, he needs anteliveries from other places. This is not a sufficient antelivery. And so, and it drops down to 0.2. Okay. Okay, so then that's the eklivery, whatever specifically happens given the other stuff. So this is like what it contributes, sort of. And maybe probability would be the best. Do it on a scale of 0 to 1 or 1 to 100. Yeah, but I'll leave that to mathematicians to think about that, what that could look like. Because what would be cool is you could say, hold on, I'm getting hot. Okay, so let's take an example. So let's take a mallet. Let's do the sunk cost fallacy, okay? sunk cost fallacy, if you itize it, it would be if I should I generalize it? Sunk cost fallacy might, oh, that's interesting. It could be phrased as if give for goal, then must receive goal, or, you know, it's basically, if I gave to the conditions, then I must receive the consequent. All right, well, let's not generalize it right now, because we're trying to actually be concrete about things right now, aren't we? Okay, so here's one version, one iteration, one isotope of the sunk cost fallacy. If I paid for this theater ticket, then I must watch the whole thing. Okay? Even if you don't like it, because of that we often will end up sticking around, or feeling, or at least there's a lot of resistance to the idea of just of leaving, even if you're absolutely sure you hate it. And it's easy to justify, like, well, maybe, but, and then there are corporations though who they'll put a lot of money into a project. Seems clear that it's not going to work, but it's because of the money they put into it, they say we must continue to put money into this. And it feels so natural. It feels so intuitively true, doesn't it? So it is hard to even see it as a fallacy, really. Okay. So if I paid for this theater ticket, then I must watch the whole thing. Okay. So the antelivery then is having paid for the theater ticket. Okay? The antelivery, by the way, for the sunk cost fallacy, does never include the displeasure with the thing, or that it seems to be a waste, and so on. But that likely will play a role after our Mazoret, which is why, you know, these measurements will be different. Some people, the sunk cost fallacy might be super loud, strong, whatever, and so it tends to ekliver, not ekliver, ekliver. It tends to produce the behavior. And if this is like just ajit, let's call this an ajit here. Let's say that this it here, or no, let's say that it's find something that we like about the play, or find something that we like about the project. So we're a corporation, we spent so much time on this, someone's saying, hey, it's a waste. Okay, there seems to be evidence, sunk cost thing is happening. The guy doesn't know it, of course, but, you know, he's resistant, he wants to spend more money even though there's no good reason to. So we can speculate that the SUSIT is the sunk cost fallacy. Well, when you challenge him on putting in more money, anytime we're challenged, there's an ajit. And this specific ajit is talking about the mission statement, the company mission statement. Okay, so this is also part of the agit, and this is basically look for something to defend. You know, why should we continue to spend money? That's this it. If we should spend money, then give a reason, which triggers this guy. That's 100% trigger here. Triggers this guy. It is in our mission statement that we don't give up. Or it is in our mission statement that this project is our #1 priority. You know, something like that. And then that's what eklivery, the person says, yeah, but, you know, how would it look if we stopped committing to this thing that's not in line with our mission statement, which is to persevere? Or it's not in line with our advertising message, or this project is, you know, how we, or another one might be, this project is how we initially, you know, were able to go public as a company, you know, early versions of this project. And even though it's actually okay to ditch the project now, because now there are other things that people are happy to buy from you, that would be another thing that the agit could come up with. So this is the agit. So that's going to be a very strong connection. Sunk cost, or I don't know. No, maybe not. Sunk cost fallacy might not have a very strong connection here, but if it does trigger the agit, then the agit will trigger talk about the mission statement. Good. Okay. So then if I spent money to finish this project, then I must spend more money to finish this project. Okay? So, the antelivery is this. This is what's needed in order for the Mazoret to slap to eklivery. Okay? To eklivery by slapping the subsequent its. Okay. Which means that the condition, the antecedent, is this. I'm repeating myself. So we could say that the blue stream is the amount of money spent, processing about the amount of money spent, the knowledge that there's a great amount of money spent. So that would be that yit. And then the git, that this is an important goal to finish the project. So the knowledge it, and then this could be the red stream. Okay. It is a fact, an epistemic, an episodic. That is no longer a word. And it's good because I was concerned about it's getting confused with inlivery. Not that that really makes a big deal, because actually, not that that's really a big deal, that causes a big problem, because actually the new word eklivery can be confused with eklivery. But when you're talking about an it, you're talking about an eklivery. And then if it's a little confusing, if you say, and then that it eklivers, and someone goes, wait, eklivery, like it produces behavior, or do you just mean it's going to pass the message on, quote unquote, within the system? Oh, eklivery. And if you want, you can call it eklivery. I don't know. Anyway, so before this was enlivery. Nope. Before this was delivery. Nope. Oh. Okay. That's good. I love this. I love this. Like, let's say that you easily feel a little bit bothered by something. You don't fight about it. You usually don't even tell anyone. But it's something that kind of just annoys you all the time. Then what we're probably talking about here is an A0, a very high A kit and high AZ voice, but it doesn't maybe trigger a whole lot in you. And the things that it triggers in you, like a certain desire to leave, you never end up leaving, not because there are other things that stop you, but just because it isn't that big of a deal. So that would be like, well, this is, you know, I mean, maybe that's not possible, but, you know, sorry, no. What? A0. Yeah, A0. Oh, and sorry, no, this is 5. So this should be like 8. Okay, so this should be 8. You can never have this letter and this number to are before M5. M5 is our origin. Okay. So then you have I mean, you can have something just past it. So you have something that's virtually an AOM5. Now you've got things that are always bothering you and they just drive you absolutely nuts, and you end up killing yourself or somebody else. Oh, that's a probably shouldn't use Z, eh? Should we like skip Z and K on our scale? Make it a 25. So it's going to be 24 segments. Yeah, so let's go Y10. No, it's not from both. That's from A to Z. So it's a 24 thing, so 23 segments. So, oh, you have an AO, an OIO. Oh, that's a big deal. This will probably be on a scale of 9, actually. Keep it 1 digit. In which case, this is not at all an 8. It's like a 6. Okay. So Y. And then there's no K on axis, on Z axis. No K and Z on Z axis. That's great. That's great. So an AOY9, an A0Y9, very, on the antelivery side, very kit, very zit. And on the eklivery side, very kit, very zit. Yeah, and then someone clever can figure out a way to... No, actually, maybe that's good enough. But couldn't there be a cool way to show... Oh, no, it doesn't, because it doesn't really matter how far apart these are. It just matters how far apart, how far they are from M, and how far those are from 5. Alright, there you go. British didn't bring me anything else, so that's okay. So, how about this? You and I, what we want to do is bring about homo gnosis. Now, gnosis may not be the present active particle of whatever the giganosko or nostos, or no, nosko, I don't know. Anyway, but that's okay because it sounds good, homo gnosis, and also it works because no this, and because it takes no and then the first letter from thyself. So there's a homage to that. So homo gnosis, spelled with a G. Okay? Homo gnosis. I think that's pretty good. And so that will be from the year 12,500 to, well, whatever the next fucking major cultural thing is. Now, you could call us Homo agriculus, you know, culturally, because agriculture is the big thing. But I just really want to highlight that it's with agriculture that the things we're capable of producing or asking of ourselves started to greatly outpace the things we're actually able to provide. Yeah, so the things we were able to ask of ourselves started greatly outpacing the things we were able to actually provide. Because once you had agriculture, culture changed so quickly, and biology just could not keep up. And we haven't changed that much biologically in the last, since year zero. Year zero human era. And I think it's just such a phenomenal achievement for a species to achieve self-knowledge. To know that they are made of atoms, that those atoms form cells, that they are made of cells, and that most of what they think of when they think of these cells, oh no, I was saying cells, but most of what they think of when they think of the cells, it's not this stuff. I could cut off my arm, and we would say, oh, it's still Eris. So most of it was here. Judgment, interpretation, all that stuff, memory, all that stuff. And even a dog doesn't know itself. A dog doesn't study itself. A dog doesn't have labels. It has its that react to pain there, and there. But my dog's not like inventing things based on its knowledge of self, of its biology. Now we are inventing things based on our knowledge of biology. Okay? And maybe rather than Homo erectus, that would be cool. But no, that's very recent. That's very recent. That's less than 10% of the time that Homo erectus has existed. But it's just the first time that a species is going to be able to auto-adjust. And you know what? The gnosis isn't just mental. Even doctors or biological researchers, we can say, are the predecessors of Homo gnosis. It is a species that is able to learn its own body and do things, like really impressive things about its body. And also do things based on knowledge of its own body. So you know what? Let's move it up. Not 2,500. Let's go 20, or not 2,500, not 12,500. Let's go 12,200, bro. Think of the next 200 years. We've already started on the body stuff. Now we're starting on the mind stuff. Over the next 200 years, we will know ourselves in a very constructive, productive way, where our systems reflect our actual abilities and limits, where we have supports in for things where we want to achieve something, but it doesn't come naturally, blah, blah. I mean, even education is, in general, is a sort of, but this is more, our educational systems today are pretty, I think, are going to be seen as pretty shit and pretty whack. We practice a lot of cool things in our schools, but we don't learn as much about the self in a consequential way. You don't learn like basic health sciences in school. You don't learn psychology in school. You don't learn biohacking in school, or sci-hacking as maybe we'll call it, or hack-it-ing. So anyway, so I just thought that was cool, and it was going to be a quick video, but it wasn't. So we're right there in the middle. We're the second homo. No, I don't know that that's true, actually. I think there have been homos before us, but we're just talking about cultural. So we are currently still at the last rung. We're at Homo sapiens, and then eventually there will be some biological changes such that we are no longer Homo sapiens. But although biologically we're Homo sapiens, we have made progress, major progress, important, consequential, significant progress since the Homo sapiens 250,000 years ago. We have agriculture, we have systems, we have this language and all this stuff. But what we lack, despite having all of that, is knowledge of the self. So we're ambitious, and you could call us Homo ambitious, Homo ambitches. But, and then anyway, then next is Homo nothus. What have I been saying, Homo nothus? Because Homo nothus, that's great. It's like, know this, know this, know this. That's great, I hadn't even thought of that. That's great, okay. So this video is titled, as you already knew, From Homo sapiens to Homo nothus. And we are Homo arrogans. So that's one thing. But if somehow I had gotten to these ideas without seeing the errors in my previous ideas, I just got super lucky where it was just obvious from the go these things, then what did I write? When I've done more with it, rather than just putting it on post-its in my vehicle and making... Yeah, I mean, when I try to get followers to get it out there, I don't know. There's just so many other things. There's fear of failure. There's the autism and not really wanting to be evaluated by people. So how kid it is, and then how zit it is. So if this gets slapped, then it will shout loudly, on average, to the subsequent its. I don't think you can do a general average, can you? That's wrong, isn't it? Because I don't know. I need to look more into biology. It's the first time I've ever gotten past my neurobio knowledge, because I never really did the cells anyway. But I also have to do cognitive neuroscience. I have to look at some stuff, to look at some streams, networks and stuff. Anyway, so what is the Kaez value? It answers the question, how likely to slap? It's not how likely to X-liver. It's just how strong the eklivery is. And it's just maybe you're taking... But I feel like it always has to be in context, doesn't it? It's how likely to slap some specific other it. No, but the way that the it is named includes the entire sort of eklivery. That's the consequent of the it. So if you say like, all right, let's take an example. Let's start by phrasing it. Let's take the humility it. If I have a thought, then it is wrong. Well, yeah, when you define it that way, you're telling us how kit it is, because you're saying if I have a thought. It sounds like any thought. So it must be very kit then. And you're not saying then I am totally 100% wrong. So the eklivery must not be very zit. But it is going to be very kit, because then I am wrong. That's a very general thing. Hope this is worth something. I don't know. But the question is, what about its effect on the eklivery? Because isn't that important? Yeah, that's what's important. The Kaez Score is talking about the eklivery, but what about what actually ends up happening to eklivery? Can you describe an it according to how likely it is to produce the eklivery that it wants? And not some mixed livery or that it gets surlivered. Now let's do another. Okay, if member of outgroup, then distrust. So how sensitive is that condition if member of the outgroup? How kit is the whole antelivery network? No. No. Let's go back. So if I said if a thought is wrong, no, if I have a thought, if I have an idea, then it is wrong. Let's rephrase that. Right, no, that's good though. And that tells you how kit it is. Here's the thing, the if is the whole antelivery. That's the condition. And then you're slapping the it, right? You're not slapping the if. The if is the whole antelivery, and it's the thing slapping the it. And then the whole eklivery is the then. No, but not necessarily. It's just what's voted for. So on the antelivery side, no, but there are lots of ways that you could get to that node. No, we have to keep going on this. All right, we'll come back. I just want to say, because the reason I started recording was because I was going to say that my humility is it's closer to the origin, because I still do advance in my ideas. But, like I said, I advance because of the humility, and I don't advance in the sense of transmitting them. A lot of my videos, I haven't like prepared a whole presentation of the idea. I don't have that much confidence in it. Just a thought I had that I'm putting out there. But I still put it out there. So what's happening right now? If I still put it out there, yes, but when I put it out there, it was phrased as it was. Like, I don't know. And it could be phrased differently. You could say, if I have an idea, then have doubt. And then the doubt isn't an eklivery. That's just an eklivery that then triggers other things. So and the doubt is strong, and it consumes my awareness. I can't just like easily let go of. It is a part of my even eklivery, even though I still say it. The it was never then don't say it. Oh, the it was never then don't say it. It was just that then it is wrong, and so that's what I say. But just because something's wrong, there's elsewhere in my sit stem is the understanding that just because something might be wrong doesn't mean it isn't worth pursuing a bit. So yeah, the Kaez score, it's a measure of the likelihood of the necessary antelivery. And then yeah, it's eklivery, what its subsequent it's, how likely the subsequent it's will be slapped, how likely it is to break the threshold of the subsequent it's. But then of course that'll vary. Like, if I'm a neuron and these are my axon terminals, I could have a whoop, and I could be like, oh. So this guy, if I get activated, this guy's gonna feel it. This guy, maybe not. So how do you describe the Mazoret then? That's why you need context. Are you talking about that stream over here where, you know, that ultimate eklivery or that potential eklivery? It's the sum. It's the sum. It's not the average. It's the sum. So the kit is the sum of all the connections, and the git is this, not the git, the zit is the sum of the intensity of those connections, but normalized. So you wouldn't want 1,000 connections, so a score of 1,000 for the kit. And then each connection has one thing to that it. So you're connected to 1,000 other its. And each connection is one unit. It's only one neurotransmitter sent across. Something, you know, whatever, I don't know. Well, your kit score would be 1,000. And your git score should be low, should be 1. So what if this one, though, this connection of 1,000, it's super, super strong. It's got 200 dendritic, or the other dude has 200 dendritic spines at this spot. I don't know. So then how git am I? How zit am I? Take the average, it's still a low zit. But what if that is really consequential? So you do have to take into account the next layer. Or the next, whatever, I spent money. And that's that knowledge represented in that sequence of activity. And here, git, I have an objective of finishing that project, right? Because there are interpretive its, and then there are knowledge its, and intention its. And it's always been that way for years. So I'm very happy that there aren't a whole bunch of these different things. They're yits and gits. I probably will discover or think of or realize more, but for years it's been information, and objectives, or goals, or values, or preferences, whatever. And then here, information, assumptions, whatever. Okay. So now, the question today was, for me was, what does it mean? What are these weights going to be based on? What does it mean? Because if we anthropomorphize, it's easy. We say the voice is loud. But what does that mean for it to be loud? What does that mean? One thing that it could mean, so with neurons, we know of two types of triggerings, of slapping. There's two ways to slap. Temporal or spatial summation, right? So for the antelivery to this, for instance, if this gets a whole bunch of it slapping it, then it's more likely to ekliver. Or alternatively, if an it boop, 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 repeatedly in a short period of time receives a slap, then that will make it more likely to, then that may, break the, they pass the threshold. Now, spatial summation is not a useful way then to talk about an eklivery. But it is a useful way maybe to talk about an antelivery, but not from a particular it. Because we're talking about a particular it, we're only talking about an eklivery from that it, not all that the Missouri receives. So maybe spatial is not useful. I don't know. Maybe I'm saying something silly, I'm just not. Maybe for the other side it is. The only way that this can communicate more loudly with this is either a quick succession of signals or more signals. Because if there are intermediate its, if there are parits, right? So if we broke this down and we found the intermediate its, and imagine this started two streams that we're going to end up here. I don't know. Okay, so there's something to this. Temporal and spatial. It's easier for me to understand spatial as an antelivery. Lots of slaps coming in. And we could rate. Ah, great. Okay, good. Okay, I thought it was 4 different words, but no, of course not. Okay, so this could very simply be, this is how kit it is, and this is how zit it is. Okay, so kit and zit. All right, let's take a look at that now. All right, because maybe we can just leave it to the mathematicians, but is there any value in this? So, what does it mean to describe, I understand what it means to describe an it as high kit on the antelivery side. Hyzit, I don't really know what that means, but I think I just had to look at cellular biology. It's the intensity. KIT is the number of opportunities. ZIT is the intensity per opportunity. And then all that determines whether or not the mesorate livers. Now, on the eklivery side, with the mesorate livers, how much damage, how consequential will it be? How loud is it? For some people, the social proof it is much louder than for other people. And what that means is they experience more of a compulsion through social proof, and we see it more in their behaviors and attitudes, the evidence of that compulsion. So it's about the eklivery. And that's a case where there wasn't other things that interfered. Now, could you have in mind that where that social proof it, sends out super strong signals, but they had some trauma. They were part of a cult. And so every time that social proof impulse is there, it's surlivered by sort of a defiance of sort of what the people around us are doing or something. Then it wouldn't ekliver, but you would still want to describe it as like a high output thing, because that would be important to the system sense of conflict and the fact that if they didn't have that trauma, then they would be an absolute sheep all the time. So it has to be about the eklivery. That's the best I can do. I don't know. All right.